So what exactly is a CA certificate? Who needs it? Is it mandatory? And what's the right template to get it done? If you're a student going for the fall 2025, I'm sure you must have thought of these questions. So this video is going to address that. And plus, we've also included a template for you using which you can make your own CA certificate. So let's get started. Hi guys, my name is Shachi and I'm a US visa coach. On this channel, you have lots of useful videos on the US visa process. We have a dedicated playlist for fall 2025, so make sure to check it out. We also have a WhatsApp community, so do join in the community. And in the links below, you will see tons of free resources. So do make use of them and prepare well. Plus, you can also work one-to-one with me. Over the last 4 years, I've worked with thousands of students, helping them in their DS-160 form, interview prep, and mock. So in case you want to work one-to-one with me, do check all the links in the description box below. So a couple of weeks back, we had uploaded a video on I-20. And one of the questions we had got is about CA certificate. And when I asked you how many of you want to see a video on CA certificate, a lot of you said yes. So here is a detailed video which should give you all the information about a CA certificate. So let's start by understanding what exactly is a CA certificate. So the CA essentially stands for Chartered Accountant. So CA certificate is a verified document which is prepared by a registered chartered accountant. And it essentially verifies and puts value to a net worth of an individual. So when we say individual's net worth, it essentially comprises of the income that they're earning, the savings that they have, and the assets that they possess. Now, the income could be through multiple sources. It could be through their job or business. It could be rentals. It could be investment income. The savings could be in multiple forms. It could be in bank account, FD, mutual funds. It could also be in assets like gold. And of course, the properties could again be in various forms like residential, commercial, and land. So a CA certificate essentially consolidates the entire net worth of an individual, puts value to it, and gives it to you in one official document, which can be used as proof of that person's net worth. Now, CA certificate either can be made individual. So let's say that you're getting it done for your father. So you could have a CA certificate just for your father, or you could even combine related family members in a CA certificate. So you could get a CA certificate done for your mother and father, or you could get it done for your father, grandfather, depending on who are the sponsors for your education in the US. Now, having understood this, a common question that we need to address is who really needs a CA certificate, or rather, when is a CA certificate required? So, a CA certificate essentially becomes important when the funding requirement is huge. So, in your case, you're going for an education in the US. So, the bank account or the money in the bank account might not be enough to cover the entire duration of your expenses in the US. And you might have to rely on other investments or other sources of funding of your sponsor. So in such a circumstance, the CA certificate becomes important because it puts a value to those assets and to those investments and gives it as a proof for additional sources of funding. And that is CA certificate mandatory. Well, there is no official communication or no official requirement from the embassy that you need to carry a CA certificate for your F1 visa interview. But a CA certificate does make your life easy because it puts all the numbers neatly in one document. And it's easy for you to reference and remember those numbers. And a lot of times when we work with students, we see that students are not really aware of the exact financials of the sponsor. So the process of making the CA certificate itself becomes like the learning process where you get to understand what are the financials and what are the exact numbers of your sponsors. And even many times we see that for the parents also, they might not have everything ready with them. But when they prepare the CA certificate, things fall in place and they're able to consolidate and present their entire net worth. So it definitely has a convenience, and you're also saved from carrying multiple proofs because a CA certificate becomes essentially like the proof of the entire funding. And along with CA certificate, you can just carry the bank statements and the income proof, and individual proofs of property or assets could be avoided. Having said that, because it's not mandatory, I think it's important to understand in what circumstances the CA certificate is more important and in what circumstances it can be avoided. So to explain this, I have taken 4 examples of 4 different profiles of students. And I think through these 4 examples, it will be really clear what exactly is the role of a CA certificate. So the first example is of a student who has education loan and savings. And the loan and the savings are almost equal. And they're covering 100% of the expenses in the US. So the student is going for a 2-year program, and the education loan and saving is pretty much covering 100% of the entire stay and education expenses in the US. Now, for this student, the CA certificate is not really that important because he already has liquid funds sufficient for the entire duration of stay in the US. And even if he doesn't take the CA certificate, but he just takes some property papers, that should be enough for, presenting the proof of the funding. So this is an example where a CA certificate can be just an add-on, but it's not really mandatory. The second example we have is of a student who has an education loan and savings, but the education loan is significant. It's almost 80% of the entire funding, and the saving value is less, it's just about 20%. Now, for such a student, I would say that it would be good to have a CA certificate because the loan is significant and the saving is less. So, you need to boost the financial strength of your sponsor. Because many times the officer would want to be looking at what are the financials, what are the income, what are the assets and properties of your sponsor because you have such a big loan. Because end of the day, a loan is a liability. So, for this student, having a CA certificate where the value of the assets, investments is properly written and the savings, the liquid savings that the student has can be supplemented with these assets and properties would be really helpful. Third instance is of a student who does not have any education loan, has only savings, but the savings are pretty much covering entire duration of the course. And also the annual income of the sponsor is quite high and it would be enough to supplement any additional expenses. So in such a circumstance, again, the CA certificate is not really mandatory because the student is completely covered and the annual income is quite high or it's significant, which means that there is still some kind of buffer when it comes to funding. So this student could also do with skipping the CA certificate and probably just taking property proofs or registration, documents as a proof of the property. The fourth and the last instance is of a student who does not have an education loan, has only savings. The savings are not entirely covering the entire 2 years, but is just about covering 1.5 years. And also the annual income of the sponsor is moderate. It's not too low, but it's also not very high. So again, for this student, I would say that a CA certificate, what do you think? You can guess your answer. But for this student, the CA certificate would be important because again, we don't want to rely on just savings, which are not covering the entire duration of the course. You want to show that you do have other backup funds, you do have other support from your sponsor. So having a proper value of the investments and the assets would be helpful. And when the officer asks, how much savings you have or how much funds you have, instead of just telling the saving amount, he or she can also include the value of the properties and investments. So I hope through these four examples, you're able to understand when a CA certificate becomes more significant. To summarize it, I would say that whenever the liquid funds is not sufficient to cover the entire duration of the course, or whenever the loan is significant, it would be good to have a CA certificate. And especially if you're going for a bachelor's program, I would say it's good to have a CA certificate because typically, since bachelor's program, a longer duration program, we see that the saving or the liquid value is usually not enough to cover entire 4 years of the education. So if you have a high education loan, if you're going for a bachelor's program, or if the liquid savings are not covering you for the entire duration of the course, or if the annual income of the sponsor is not very high, then you should consider getting a CA certificate made. If you don't fall into any of the categories that we discussed, or you have any doubts regarding whether you need a CA certificate or not, do put down your questions in the comment section below and I'll be happy to help. Now that we've understood about CA certificate, the next common question we ask is, how do I get a CA certificate made and who do I go to? Well, we are asked this a lot and often people ask us that, do you have any contact for a CA that I can go to? Honestly, even if we had a contact, it wouldn't help you because a CA has to be local to your city, to your area, in fact. Because when they put a value to the property or when they have to check your assets, they have to do it physically. They have to tie up with a CE who is a chartered engineer. And this entire process has to be done physical, in person. So you need to contact a chartered accountant who you know, who lives in your city, who lives in your community, your society, and ask them for what is their process of getting it done. Do keep in mind that preparing a CA certificate does take time because they have to follow the entire procedure of evaluation, estimation, and then finally preparing the document. So in case you're planning to get it done, make sure that you start in advance and don't leave it for, a last minute check. One important thing to keep in mind is that the CA certificate has to be genuine. So make sure that you're going to a proper certified CA and all the process is being done genuinely. In the embassy, this time there's a lot more scrutiny, not only in terms of questions, but also in terms of documents. So it's important that whatever documents you carry with you are 100% genuine. Next, the last thing we're going to address is the template. So we get a lot of questions as to what's the template to follow. So in the description box below, we have actually indicated a template for CA certificate that we have given to a lot of our clients. Keep in mind that every CA follows a slightly different format. So your CA might, do it similarly or there might be some variation and that's completely fine. As long as the income, the saving and the properties are listed clearly and the values are indicated, you should be good to go with the CA certificate. So yeah, this is everything about CA certificate. I hope it helps you. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. You could also DM me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is at shachi.mall. And we have a lot more videos coming up for fall 2025. The season has just started. We have seen about 1 week of interviews so far in the embassy, and we are also going to come up with videos which is going to tell you about embassy-wise patterns, trends, whatever the new questions that are being asked this season. So stay tuned for all of these videos and do keep an eye on the shorts because most of these updates are going to be put in the shorts section of the YouTube. And needless to say, keep preparing. Things are definitely becoming tighter, a little bit more stringent compared to the last intake. The scrutiny is a bit more this time. And coupled with the fact that the refusal slots are becoming really difficult. So the embassy clearly has set aside different timelines, and people who have a refusal will have to wait. So it looks like only post July you'll be able to find a slot if you have a refusal. So the attempt that you're giving needs to be maximized. You need to make sure that you're thoroughly prepared and you're giving your best attempt. Do check all the links for the preparation sessions. Our main program is the 7-day program. I know a lot of you are already enrolled for it. So this is a detailed prep in which we start with profile analysis, we fill your DS 160 form, we help you in reviewing your form, we frame answers, and we give you multiple mocks. And we also have shorter versions of the 7-day program. So do check it out and let me know if you have any questions about any of these programs. Signing off for now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.